All right, folks, hear ye. Although I know we're a little bit late in doing this. I know this article came out, oh gosh, I think like yesterday or so, but I haven't done a proper read of it. So I wanted to, take some time to read through it as I usually do, and react to stuff, give some commentary, and just kind of figure out what's going on. So a look ahead at housing at midnight. Yeah. From decor storage to exterior lighting, endeavors, exporting houses, and more, we're looking into the future of housing and what you can expect from the launch of Midnight and beyond. Hello, neighbors. Housing Early Access have been out for a few months now, and we've loved seeing your creativity and builds. As a reminder, housing is an evergreen feature that we'll continue to build and iterate on. So as we approach midnight, we want to discuss what we're currently working on and what you can expect to see in the months to come. Our usual disclaimer applies here. We're discussing this far in advance of when we'd normally talk about in-development features because we want your feedback early and often. So here we are. This means there's plenty of time for things to change, priorities could shift, names or aspects of features might be different by the time they launch, and things might be pushed up or back or even cut entirely. Keep this in mind as you read on. All right, so hot topics. We first want to acknowledge that there are some things that we've seen come up often in community conversations around housing, and we're actively working on them. Here's what we mean. First off, maximum decor storage. Now that we're seeing usage numbers, we plan to increase the maximum amount of decor storage by around 50% in the coming weeks. So right now we're at 5,000 or so. 50% more means 7,500. That's going to be like a nice, that gives a good bit of breathing room for like the 5%, the 1% of housing folks that have maxed out their stuff. And otherwise are like deleting things, and that never feels good in a situation like that, like this. Decor storage and deletion. As you approach the maximum amount of decor storage, it can be confusing because some items don't count towards the cap, but also can't be deleted while others do count. It's not clear which is which by looking at the house chest. This makes it difficult to delete items to free up room, and players can end up kind of soft locking themselves without much recourse. To address this, we'll be changing things to allow these items to be deleted while leaving the original as undeletable since you can't get it again. So if you get an item through an achievement and by doing extras, you can delete the extras without deleting the achievement item. Now, I thought this was already supposed to be a thing. So at least from the read of this, it just sounds like it's kind of buggy and it's not working right. And especially from a front-facing display sort of thing, it just kind of feels confusing to players. So that'll be nice. The weird rotation bug. We're aware of a bug that causes some items to slightly rotate themselves when you re-enter your house. This is caused by certain angles of rotation being saved and reloaded incorrectly. We have a fix for this, but because it touches a lot of fundamentals in decoration, we want to put it through some rigorous testing. We'll roll it out when we're confident it's both safe and fixed. So, what they mean by that is, if they fix it, we go into the house, and then all of a sudden there's like a whole bunch of stuff that we have like meticulously set and configured or whatever. And all of a sudden it just, gets all jacked up. So hopefully it gets fixed and it gets fixed correctly, but I'm counting on there being some, there's going to be some cracks, I'm sure. House XP loss. Haven't heard of this one. There's been sporadic reports of House XP experience loss with updates. We've added additional logging here to try and isolate what's happening. Work on it, but don't have any additional updates right now. I haven't heard of that yet. Then finally, exterior limits. Lastly, we still want to increase the exterior decor limit, but we're gathering some more data here. See down below. All right, what's coming in future updates? Some things you can expect with nearly every update, like new decor, bug fixes, and quality of life improvements, and more. These things will be consistent throughout updates. So like every patch, Liz. But what about the larger features? Here are some things we're working on now that we'll be introducing later, like exterior lighting and exterior limits. In the alpha, we had to disable exterior lighting due to performance concerns on the client. We're currently working on a way to re-enable this in a way that remains performant, as in like stable. At the moment, this is taking the form of proximity restrictions, so two light sources outside can't be placed too close to one another, which is where the bulk of the performance impacts come from. This restriction will only exist outdoors, and you will be free to place all the lights on top of each other indoors like you can today. Once it's implemented, we're going to run additional performance tests to see how exterior lights affect performance in a neighborhood with a lot of players and every plot fully decorated. Assuming these numbers come back favorably, we'll be increasing the exterior decor limits again as well. So from the looks of, so they want to proximity restrictions, so 2 light sources of any sort is what I'm looking at. So if I have like a little baby candle dude and I got a big honking hoodawutsits, they're going to like crash into each other. And one question that I have is, I mean, when we resize stuff, the hitbox or I guess the encroachment, that grows as well. So is that going to cause some sort of thing as well? That's going to be that might be a big deal because some people, they'll add lights just to add lights, not because it's a piece of decor, but because they're just trying to brighten something up. So that could potentially like warp the way that people will do some of their builds. But it's an incremental thing. You know, they have clear intents that, like, I'm sure people are like, well, why don't they just fix everything? Obviously, they would like to fix everything, but you know, incrementally, as long as they're continuing to make improvements and making responsible observations, then cool. Because the last thing we want, I think, is instability. Oh my God, my neighborhood's crashing because some jackass did like this and this. You know, we don't want something like that to happen. That'd be terrible. More endeavors. More endeavors are planned for the future with more cultures coming to your neighborhoods. They're excited to share their traditions, activities, and let's be honest, most excitingly, their decor with you. We've been watching what tasks folks are enjoying and which ones they're shying away from in our current set of endeavors. Future endeavors will continue to experiment with new types of tasks while adding more of the kinds of tasks people like and pruning those that are less popular. So I would like to see, like, I've seen a number of different kinds of like endeavor tasks, and like they're not all made equal, which is fine. But I think having some sort of way to like kind of grind it out a little bit more consistently would help. Like, at least from my observation, like the Dractyr one is a lot more tough to grind out than the Mechagon one, or basically ones where you can do a lot of neighborhood stuff continuously. Dractyr, by contrast, I don't think there was much that I was able to do, or at least if there was, I couldn't find it, which is a different sort of problem because I wouldn't have been directed into those sorts of things. All right, so layouts, as we're calling it, and import export. Now, this is one that I think a lot of folks have been talking about over the past day or so. We've mentioned this in a few different interviews, but let's talk more about them. At their core, layouts allow you to import and export the decor and rooms of your house, allowing you to effectively save and load various configurations and states. These can be used strictly for yourself or shared with other players, but regardless of how you choose them, they enable a host of interesting functionality. Like, if you're looking for inspiration or just a base to build on, importing a layout gives you a great starting place. If you built a holiday room and you want to kind of take things down after the holidays, it's simple to swap back to your normal decor and then put things back up next year. If you're about to embark on a major redesign, you can export your current layout and use it as a quote, sort of save point so you can roll back to that if things don't go the way you thought it would. If you want a house for different characters, layouts can let you build one for each and swap between them as desired. If you make a build guide for a house or room, you can include example layouts for people to pull apart to really understand it. But that's not all. Layouts can also be used as a stopgap solution to get around some of the current limitations in the room system. So if you want to change around your hallways without having to redo the rooms on the ends from scratch, ooh, that's good. Just export them. So I guess you can export a room and then re-import them when your new hallways are ready and when your hallways and once you do the thing, okay? That part's pretty cool. I like that. Currently, we're planning for layouts to work on a room by room, an exterior plots, and a whole darn house basis, but we're also exploring some other finer grained options here too. I have some commentary on this. It's important to note that the sharing of a layout is an explicit choice and up to the sole discretion of the house owner. Unless you, as the owner, decide to export and share a layout, players, even those who have permissions to your house, they cannot access or import it. So the Wowhead tool just won't work to, like, rip someone's house. That's what it sounds like. Another important note is that when you import a layout, you don't need to own all the decor, but you will need to have any necessary rooms or houses unlocked. We'll try our best to make the import work, leaving out objects you don't own or not coloring objects you don't have the die for, and so on and so forth. But some things would break the bounds of physics too much for a direct. Actually, we'll try our best to make the import work, but some things would break the bounds of physics too much for a direct import. I'm not entirely sure what they're talking about. There's a whole lot of logistics for us to figure out since we still want these to be very flexible and usable by everyone, but we're excited to talk more about layouts in the future. So I'm going to say I absolutely won't see that until like a major patch or something like that, somewhere further down the line. Now, one thing I think is kind of cool is, eventually we're going to reach a state where not only do we have these layouts, but we'll also be able to select multiple objects that are already laid out and then move things around. So essentially what some people will be able to do is, hey guys, I'm going to give a code for this room, or I'm going to sell this room full of these objects. So like, here's a piano, here's a guitar, here's a stove, here's, all these different kit bash things. People can just grab the whole thing and then move things however they like. If that's kind of the vision that I have with a concept like this, but very cool. I'm sure people will continue to have concerns about, kind of like not copyright, but giving credit to a person like, hey, I'm the one that originally made that, and now I'm seeing like a bajillion of these things around because I gave my code out to someone and then they spread it around, or someone just kind of emulated what I did and did a really good job of it, and then now that's being spread around, but I'm not getting credit for it because I was the first one that did it. That's I don't know how to police something like that. That would be, I don't know how to police something like that. That wouldn't become this really, really this overcomplicated thing that would cause this whole system to be like significantly delayed. But I won't. Bring your pets home. Now, what's a home without a cute and fluffy or whatever friend to come back to after your adventures? In a future update, you'll be able to place almost any of your collected pets. To do so, you'll place a pet bed decor item or another thematically appropriate piece of decor. And from its customization menu, you'll be able to select a pet as well as whether it should stay still or wander around. It's kind of interesting because I can imagine putting like a whole bunch of like pet beds like just in some tucked away hidden corner. You can't really see them, but it's like, dude, pets, and just let the flood come in. There are a few limitations on pets, however. When we launch pets as decor, they will be placeable both inside and out, but pathing will only work inside your house. There's more work to be done on exterior pathing, and that'll be enabled further down the line. We'd rather you have placeable pets sooner rather than later. Cool. Pets will not be limited by the amount you own, assuming you have at least one collected. So if you want to go full-on cat person with a bunch of black tabby cats, we won't stop you. That's really cool. Pets will have their own limit on placement separate from decor limits to prevent performance problems with hundreds or thousands of tiny little things wandering around your house. Oh my God, just imagine like if someone wanted to do like a whole bunch of cockroaches. Just little beetles like going around all over the place. That would gross me. We're going to see it. I'm sorry, guys. Now we're going to see something like that. Lastly, a very small number of pets will not be placeable due to various concerns, some technical and some functional. So probably no Argent Gruntling or Argent Squire or something like that. I'm sure that's going to be like one of those things. No Ethereal Trader. There's some weird pets out there. And then finally, showcase and visitor codes. One more thing before we go. We're also in the early stages of something we're calling showcases, which gives players a way to submit their houses to either an either timed or themed showcase, as well as browse and visit houses that have already been submitted. Okay, so this is basically our way of, dude, come visit my place. While visiting a house in a showcase, if you like it, you can leave an up. You can okay, we can vote for stuff. You can leave an upvote. At the end of the showcase, the houses with the most upvotes will earn a small trophy they can show off as decor. Huh. So I'm going to read this again. While visiting a house in a showcase, if you like, you can leave an upvote. At the end of the showcase, the houses with the most things. Huh. So I guess Blizzard does the showcase and then we submit to the thing. Okay, well, let me just read on. Our goal is to give players an easy way to check out interesting houses in a central in-game location for inspiration. Going a little further to enable easy sharing of your house, we're also going to implement visitor codes which let you generate time-limited codes that can be shared to allow other players to visit your house directly. Okay. It's important to note that when you submit to the showcase or a visitor code is generated, we're going to snapshot your house, and that snapshot will be used to spin up a new instance for visitors browsing via the showcase or visiting via the code. This means that one, you're afraid to redecorate without worrying about someone showing up mid-remodel and your place being a mess. And two, players aren't entering your space and you won't be bothered by a stream of looky-loos checking things out while you're washing your hair or something. These visitors will be in their own shared instance together rather than in your private one. Your actual house's permissions will still be respected while allowing you to show off your creations. Okay, so it's made to be like this kind of impersonal, show-offy kind of thing, right? As opposed to, hey, you want to come to my place and do like some RP things? But I'm talking about duels and stuff. Intimate duels, whatever. So yeah, that seems cool. Now the showcase, I'm a little bit confused on, but let me read on. We're also experimenting with a guest book as part of this, where players can leave pre-written notes. Underline that for the owner. When the owner logs in, they'll be able to see who visited and any notes left for them. And then we'll have more later. This is just a quick look and yada yada yada. Okay, so yeah, I'm still kind of like about the whole showcase sort of thing. So I guess it's kind of like an event or something like that, because if you're going to get like some sort of prize or a thing to hang up or a trophy to display, it sounds like it's some sort of event that's being set up, or unless it's like a temporary trophy or something like that. But I kind of like what they're doing here. You know, I think what they're talking about is cool, but just like anything with housing or anything of under this subject, it's great to see what they're talking about. It's not as great to see what they're not talking about. You know what I mean? And by that, I'm talking about weapons and armor displays. I'm never gonna shut up about that. I actually one of the devs congratulated me privately, and I was like, dude, cool. Let's talk about like weapon and armor displays. So I reached out and I learned nothing. There, you know, it was like a sponge. It was just like, oh, thank you for your feedback. So, but to me, that's a big deal. It's a very big deal because there are folks out there who are like, housing, this is so girly, something Barbie house, yada yada yada. And you know what? In a lot of ways, it's not. It just doesn't jive with them, and that's fine. That's 100% fine. I'm oversimplifying when I say there are two kinds of people that might be interested in housing. One, people who want to create, and two, people who want to show off what they've done. As in, they want like their own they want a glorified trophy case or something like that. At the moment, you can kind of do that. There are a bunch of like legacy achievements and things that we've done in the past that you need to put quite a bit of work into in order to get a thing that you can put up that symbolizes the work that you've done. Cool. But what about the things that we've actually looted over the past, like maybe 20 or so years? What about that one weapon that we worked really hard to get, or the one that we had to like go through the whole DKP drama thing in order to receive that armor set that hardly anyone has because no one in their right mind would be farming for that thing these days. That sort of presentation is, to me, that's a very, very, very big deal. And I want more people to bring that up because it because there are certain priorities that are being highlighted. That's great and everything, and I'm certain. And again, I wasn't told anything. I'm certain that they're working on it. It's just fat copium that I'm running off of. But to me, I think it's hugely important to capture more of the audience that right now under the housing umbrella might be underserved because people want to be able to, they don't want to go through the trouble of, oh my God, I'm gonna like do all this work so I can put up a cabinet or something like that, or you know, instead they want to celebrate the things that they have already collected, but they just don't have a visual representation of it other than it appearing on their transmog thingamajig or a +1 on their achievement score. And so I'm going to push for that I'm going to keep talking about it. I'm not going to shut up about it. Even if they are going to be working on it. I just want it to be something that is on people's minds because I think it's a huge deal. We've seen the likes of like order halls and other such places where we see those kinds of things, and it kind of hits that whole nostalgia sort of thing because these aren't like brand new dyeable items we're talking about. These are weapons that we might have like weapons and armor that we might have a personal connection with, that can't just be defined by the amount of gold that we spent on it or the materials that went into it. Sometimes, just that one weapon might have a really cool story behind it that's our own, but we want to just share and celebrate something like that. So that's the read. Like I said, cool stuff, but there could be a lot more cool stuff that I'm going to be looking forward to, of course, and I hope to hear more. I'm glad that they're giving some updates on this, and we hope to hear more soon. So let me know what you guys think. I know this is a long one. Sorry about that. But until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.